inner peace, emotional peace, and self-belief and self-confidence, while also knowing that people that you grew up with, or, you know, you're losing friends to death or jail, or, and still happening today. How do you feel peace, calm, and confident?
Right.
Running a business, running your life, traveling with your wife, whatever it might be. How do you feel those things?
I feel peace because I know that when it's all said and done, my kids gonna know that their father was a great man. I feel peace in knowing that there's no better husband in the world than me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm that guy. You know what I'm saying? Because this is something I strive for. Like, I wanted these things. I know that when it comes down to my culture, there's nobody that's realer than me, because I'm not a rapper. Like, I'm a prophet in my mind. I mean, I'm here to share what I've learned and to share what I know, and hoping that it can change lives.
Wow.
Right, and save lives, because that's the only thing I can do at this point. You can give me $1 billion, I'm gonna live the same life. Of course I want it. Right. I can help more people, but I'm gonna still be the same person. And for me, it's like I get peace in knowing that I got good friends now and I can build with. You know, I just had my homie lost one of his nephews, and the other one lost his cousin. But it was a time where as black men, we couldn't even talk to each other about how we felt. I'm in a circle of people now, I can tell them, like, man, I don't know how and we all come together and we talk about this, and I ain't judging you. Yeah. And it didn't used to be like that. I used to have to keep all my feelings and everything that I was feeling balled up inside and deal with it myself, you know, which caused me to go outside of my comfort zone to find the answers, which was a great thing. Yeah. But now I can call, you know, one of my brothers or somebody and say, hey, look, man, well, you know, my man, I found out his nephew died, and the next day my other man's cousin died, and it's just like, now I got to make these calls. And but the calls are like, they're intentional. Hey, bro, if you need to process this, you know, if you need to just sit down, like, you want to smoke a cigar, let's just talk, you know, and that's a different type of peace, right? Because now I got an outlet. And then what gives me peace is I started getting mentors, whether it was my, because I had
TD, a mentor of yours, and Bishop Jakes, isn't he?
Yeah, Bishop Jakes is one of my mentors. John Maxwell.
I just had John on. He's great.
Robert Greene.
Robert's amazing.
Tony Robbins.
Yeah, man.
You name it. You know, this is my circle. I'm on speed dial.
Wow.
You know? And for me, it's like these are people that I can reach out to even help me process stuff I need to help process for the people that I love. And I want to help, right? Because now we all got this. You know what I'm saying? It's not just mine, right? And what brings me peace is knowing that, you know, my decisions can change lives, right? Because my decisions have took lives, meaning like I've been a part of things that, you know, but now it's not like I just turned this new leaf and I'm just in a different space. It's like, this is who I am. This is who I was evolving to be. I just had to go through the fire. Wow. Right? Just to understand, because I can't look at you with a straight face and go, I wouldn't do that. I don't think that's good. And I never did it. I'm gonna be like, yo, man, like I've been there. And that's why when my brothers come to me, if they going through something or whatever, I can sit down and have a intentional conversation about, you know, processing it and understanding where we at. And then we can, and here's that street sense kicks in again. Oh, you ever thought about this? And you should sit down with such and such and y'all figure that out.
Sure.
And that's how it works.
How old were you when you started to be able to open up and have these types of conversations about your emotions, about your feelings, about your thoughts, as opposed to just with yourself? Because I never spoke about any of my emotions till I was about 10 years ago when I hit 30. So when I started to process and heal and be able to talk about these things, that I was like, no one could ever know this stuff.
I would say when I was 40.
Really?
Yeah, it's less than 5 years ago.
Wow. That's when you started to be able to say, all right, let me start processing or opening up.
Well, what happened was I was living in Malibu, and my music was changing. Louis Farrakhan hit me, Brother Farrakhan. And he was like, Jeezy, Brother Jeezy, your music is changing. The enemy is coming. I'm just like, my enemy's in my neighborhood. They ain't coming where I'm in Malibu. He's like, I'm just telling you. Get off the phone with him. Next week, I'm on tour with Wiz Khalifa. Young man gets killed by my tour bus, and they lock me and my crew up. So now I'm sitting in LA County Jail, $10 million in bail.
Oof.
You know what I'm saying? Because there's 10 people on the bus.
Oh.
I didn't do anything. First time in my life, I didn't do anything.
And I'm sitting. You're on the bus.
Yeah. Well, I got off the bus.
Oh, wow.
And went to a hotel room. And then I came.
But it was your bus.
On the bus the next morning. They followed us to the next venue.
Oh, man.
That's where they got me at.
Holy cow.
And now I'm sitting in jail. 10 people in jail, $1 million a piece, $10 million. And my team came to get me out the first day, right? And I go, I can't leave them in LA in jail. I cannot. You know what I'm saying? So let me figure out how to get everybody out, and then we'll get out together. So I got everybody out on bail because we still had to go to court. I had to pay for all that.
Wow.
Flying everybody back and forth here to court, whatever. Shout out to my lawyer, Blair Brand. She killed it. But the thing was that one last time, I was depending on the people that was my people to make sure that my family and my people was straight. And when I got home, when I finally got out, nobody did anything.
Really?
And because I've been the bad for everybody. I don't pay for things that ain't got nothing to do. It ain't even my business, right? And I was just so devastated because I'm like, yo, what if this would have been it? What if I would have passed? Like, you're not gonna make sure my kids are good. Y'all not gonna check on my daughter's mother. Y'all not gonna do these things. And it's just like, I've done that for y'all, right? And I'm not pointing any fingers. I'm just saying, like, I know what I would do, right? And that's when I started to learn I can't put my expectations on anybody.
Right.
Right. So now I got to do what's best for me because now I feel like I'm all alone.
Wow.
So I was it. I cut everything. And then that's when I went on my mission to just start. And one of my business partners, we used to always just sit down and talk, have a bottle of wine, smoke a cigar. And he's like, what do you want to do? I was like, I want to do real estate. And it's just into real estate. I started doing real estate. That did well for me. I want to do spirits. So this is all what we did. So I'm like, why don't I just do that in life? So Robert Green. I call Robert Green. We go to the LA Athletic Club, sit down, have tea. I asked him 7 questions. And he started giving me this game.
Wow.
John Maxwell, who came and married me and my wife.
Wow.
You know, in my backyard.
That's amazing.
Right. And one of my best friends, and me and John talking, he gives me this insight, and I just started to move towards the light. You know what I'm saying? Because I just wanted to get a different perspective because I didn't have anybody around me to give me their perspective. And TD Jakes, same thing. And I'm not just saying it because these are established people. These are men that have done well in their lives and their community.
And their relationships.
That want to share something with me that I didn't have any access to.
Wow.
And that's what made me start to open up and start to understand and start to be at peace and start to do all these things because now I know it's okay.
Holy cow. So before 5 years ago, when you would face a challenge or an adversity.
Well, let me say this too though. And I met my wife on set when I went to do her show because she works in television to promote an album I was working on. And I told my publicist, I said, yo, I'm going to marry that woman. But I knew that I had to do some work on myself.
Sure.
So this is the 5 years that I really got myself together. That I came back and I was like, yo, I'm actually ready for you. Like, wait.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
So you met her right around that time, 5 years ago or whatever.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
So this is fascinating because did you kind of let go of all those people in your life around that time? That was...
I mean, I want to say let go because it wasn't that easy, but I just think we grew apart.
Yeah.
And things just started to happen differently.
They didn't want to go on the same path as you.
Yeah. And
so naturally, they're not going to be spending as much time as you.
Yeah. And then it just, it got a little crazy for a while.
I can imagine, man. People don't like watching someone else change and doing things differently, especially if you've known for a long time.
Right.
And you're used to doing certain things with them.
Well, they want you to be the old you because it makes them be uncomfortable. And the new you makes people be uncomfortable. And for me, I just kind of felt like the hardest decision I ever made in my life. Hardest decision I ever made in my life. And I made some hard decisions.
Was what?
Was to walk alone. Hardest decision I ever made in my life. It was like, for the first, Thug Motivation came. For the first 3 albums up until my album, The Recession, I had so much survivor's remorse and I was so like in a bad place. Like I was drinking like you wouldn't believe.
Really?
Oh my God. I was 260 pounds. Skin was bad. I was just like, because I thought I was going to prison. The whole time because everybody around me started to get indicted. So I'm like just waiting. It's coming. Like if me and you hanging out and you get indicted, and I'm like, man, they got Lewis, that's my man.
Right.
Right.
Where am I going?
So, right. And it was just like that whole thing. So a lot of the music and why it was so strong and direct was it because I just wanted to be heard. In my mind, I'm just like I'm gonna be gone, so this is my only chance. So I really focused on the music, put everything in the music because I just want to leave this behind if I'm not gonna make it out this. And I was in such a and this is the thing, I didn't have the verbiage for all these things I was going through.
The language, you didn't know how to communicate it.
I didn't know what depression was. I didn't know what anxiety was. Like I didn't know these things. I didn't have no. Well, you think I can go to the next room? One of my homeboys and be like, "I'm feeling crazy. I think it's anxiety." You're like, "Yo, man,
drink this, smoke this.
Right? Chill out, bro. You bugging." And on top of paranoia, one of the
cops coming in, when someone come with a gun,
everybody I would see, I would just think, that the agents, the this and that, and all these things were going on. I'm trying to make music, and I was just so depressed. And I was just drinking so much, and I was like waiting to the day. Like I would just go to sleep sometimes and be like, okay, if it's the day, I'm prepared. And mind you, the whole time this is going on, because I'm built the way that I'm built, I'm distancing myself farther away from my family, my sisters, and my cousins, my dad, and my mom at the time before she passed, because I'm preparing, right? Because if I go, I don't want to be like, I can't be a weak link.
Wow.
Because I miss the outside of my mom, my family. So I'm mentally distancing myself from them because I don't want that to affect me if I got to go to prison.
Holy cow.
All that's going on. And it was one day, I never forget, I started to work on the recession, and I was dealing with this young lady. We had this breakup. It was public. She was a public person. We had a breakup. And I just went in the studio the same night, and I didn't come out until I worked the recession. And what I was doing was, I was reading books. This is something new for me.
What year is this?
This was
08?
8. Okay. 07, going into 08, right? Reading books. I was watching the news. I was working out. Now I'm in the gym. I don't know how to work out because I don't like to be told what to do. So I ain't want to go with a trainer. So now I'm YouTubing videos. You know what I'm saying? YouTube was my best friend, and I learned how to eat clean, how to stay hydrated, because I wasn't drinking water for I go months without water.
Oh my gosh, man.
Yeah. It was Cristal.
Oh my gosh, man.
Cristal and Waffle House. That was it. That was my diet. And I was like that, and I lost 60 pounds. And I wrote The Recession, which was one of the best albums, in my opinion, that I've ever written, right? Because it was dealing with politics, the world, the things were going on. I wrote My President is Black before Barack Obama won, right? This is before he won. This was like 6 months before he won. And then he won, so that made that song go even crazy. I had Put On with Kanye West. This was the first verse that he did since his mom passed. And now I'm going to do shows. And when I used to do my shows, it used to be like all the gangsters and the gang members and the drug dealers in the front row. Now I'm down, I'm like 190, 185, right? And I'm doing shows and it's all women in the front.
Really?
Right? Yeah. And I go do my first show on the recession tour.
They think they're looking at Usher or
right,
what?
Yeah. and I'm doing the show, and I come out on stage, and all stuff start flying on the stage. I'm looking at my security guard like, yo, what you gonna do with this? He said, balls. I said, what's going on? He said, it's bras and stuff. I was like, oh my God.
Panties and bras.
Right. You know what I mean? And from that standpoint on, I was like, oh, I can be better. I can look better. I can be better. And this is when I came into stardom. This is when I gave myself. Yeah, this is the first time. My third album was the first time in my whole career where I said, you are a bona fide star. You have to go out here and you got to do what you got to do. And you can't worry about your past. You have to be what you've become. And that's when I fell into like Jeezy, right?
Wow.
That was the first time I felt like I was worthy. And then,
really?
Yeah, because before then, I'm thinking it's a fluke. I'm like, I'm selling a few records, but it ain't the type of money I'm used to. Let's talk about that. You know what I'm saying? And how long was it really going to last? You know what I'm saying? And you're not even really an artist, so, you can write a hit album and be talented and can't write another one.
Right. A lot of people do that.
Right. So now I'm starting the process there because I'm like, okay, I got one. What happens now? So now I'm trying to stay in the studio, but I'm not living the same life that I was when I was writing these records. Right. Because now I'm transitioning, so I'm seeing things different. And, nobody wants to hear that. So what are you gonna do?
Right. How many people in the music business that you interact with truly believe that they're worthy of love and peace and success?
I can't really speak because I know for me, I just feel like I'm just a grown man.
Mm-hmm.
I don't group myself in that. Right?
Sure.
And not that I have any disrespect for it.
Right.
But it's just like, it's like if I go to a golf club and everybody there is, well off, I might want to play golf, but I don't want to be in their group.
Right.
Right. And I think that it's hard to get to know somebody when they don't know themselves. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's hard, because they're living out who they think they are, who people told them they are.
A false identity.
Yeah, you can't get to know them because they're going by a name that they made up and that is who they are, and that's how people perceive them in the world, right? And, not to say that anybody's a bad person, but it's almost like you go to a wrestling match, you got to know the Undertaker ain't the Undertaker at home.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You got to know that, right? But I think that's different because I'm Jeezy at home. I'm Jeezy every day. Like, it ain't got nothing to do with the music. The music just happened to be a part of what I'm doing.
So, I mean, the music, you said this earlier, you were never trying to be an artist. You were never trying to be a musician, an artist, or rapper. You weren't trying to.
I love the music, though. That was the thing, because I learned, and I talk about that a lot in the book, I learned a lot from like Tupac's core, because he had morals and values before I knew what they were. He stood for something. So he was a revolutionary. I didn't know that you can even have an opinion about this stuff. You see what I'm saying?
Sure.
He stood on that. He died for it. He's like, what's the difference between him and anybody else that was assassinated? He died for what he believed in, right? And the things that he believed in gave people like myself some type of moral compass. Because I knew I couldn't do that, because Pac said you couldn't do that, right? And then I knew I shouldn't do that because he said somebody did this to him, and that's how I was starting to pull things out of the music.
Wow.
So I loved the music. So I was listening to like the Pacs and the Master P's and the 8-Ball, MJGs. I didn't listen to the music just to hear it and enjoy it. I listened to the music like sermons.
Wow.
I'm trying to find the word in there.
The message.
The message. Yeah. And that's why I love music so much. And it was like...
But you weren't trying to be a musician.
No. I was trying to be... Honestly, I was trying to be an entrepreneur before I knew what entrepreneurship was. Because the guys that I saw that was doing it on a major level was the Master P's and the Cash Moneys. They were living this crazy life, and I was hustling, trying to get the stuff that they was getting. Like, right. I bought Lexuses and Rolex watches and all this stuff at that time. Like, I was known for that. You know what I mean? Like, people know, if you know me, I had the latest car, I had the best watch, I had this, and this was before music, right? But these were the entrepreneurs, and I'm like, well, I can do this. I just got to go find some talent. So I was.
So you're trying to be the label. You were trying to find the talent.
I was dealing with some guys out of Florida that I was kind of getting some money with, and in the streets, and they had a record company that they was building, right? And we went like to this Black Spring Break in Daytona or something. They had like the Winnebagos and the cars with their stuff on their t-shirts, and I was just like, I could do that. So I went back to Georgia, bought a studio, went to the neighborhood, got some artists. There wasn't artists. There was the homies. You know what I'm saying? Got artists, and put everybody down. My man was with me as well, and we put everybody in the studio, and we was trying to make records, and we was trying to get our name out there, and it just didn't go that way. And then the charges came down. People started getting real time, so on and so forth. And now we stuck with this studio with no artists, and everybody like, well, look, you really lived the life. You might as well talk about it.
Wow.
Right? I was a little reserved because I'm already, again, good over here. The last thing I want to do is go over here and look corny.
Right.
Or because I don't really truly have talent. Like, I'm not writing songs every day. However, when I went back to my childhood, I had to realize, my wife is going to kill me about this, but it was a girl in my class when I went to school in Hawaii, right? And she was different ethnicity or whatever. And I was just like, wow, because I had never seen, this is my first time out of the hood. Like, I've never seen this, right? So I'm like, so I started writing her poems.
Mm-hmm.
And then the more I wrote her poems, my dad would come in like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm writing her another poem. He's like, man, come on. So I wrote her poems like every day, and then she ended up becoming best friends and of course girlfriend with him. But I realized that the way I can articulate myself when I write was something special there, because you're feeling what I want you to feel.
Yeah,
So
I'm getting the result.
Right.
Yeah,
I
I'm
can
with
see
you
it.
now.
Right. You know what I'm saying? I can see we're connected.
Right.
And I just remember that.
Interesting.
And then when I started to understand how to put my life into words, it started to be therapeutic for me, because now it's like, oh, I did deal with that. Oh, that is trauma. Wow, I did go through that. How did I overcome that? And now I'm putting it in my music, and that's why my music has always been about motivation. It's been about inspiration. It's been about, how can I help you with my pain? How can I prevent you from feeling what I felt? And even if you do, how do I make you feel like you're not alone in this? Right. And that's where the music came from. Because if you go back to Pac, Thug Life was a movement, but if you listen to it, you think it's about killing and robbing. It's not. It's about standing for something, right?
Yeah.
It just made it make sense to us.
Sure.
Because we all feel like we was living the thug life, right?
Wow.
So I came back, and my first album was Thug Motivation, because I wanted to set it up like a class. Right?
That's cool.
This is something you sit down and then my second album was The Inspiration, right? And then my third album was The Recession. So look at the, you know what I'm saying? And the crazy thing is, I got the recession from being in a room with these guys. I went to this little private dinner. I'm in a room with all these guys that got all this money, and they were so concerned. They was like, yo, the recession is coming. I'm thinking about selling this and doing that, and I got to get rid of this business. And I'm going like, you guys got a lot of money. Like, what are you worried about? And he's like, do you know what a recession is? I'm like, yeah, but I didn't. So I went back and Googled it, and I'm like, huh. So I'm asking questions now. What happens with this? How does this happen? So when I wrote The Recession, that was me running back to tell the culture what I just learned. You don't need anything to make something, right? You just got to have the drive to do it. You feel what I'm saying? It's like you don't need a product to make money.
Right.
You just need an idea and the drive to get it across, right?
Yeah.
And I learned that in the streets, like, really quick, you know, because if your personality is good and you're a good person,